How to hold others accountable without resentment. Here's 11 ways to answer this question in this video. As a first-time leader, you have to hold your team and team members accountable for the work that they do and the results that they are paid to produce. Yet at the same time, as a first-time leader who is relatively new in your own leadership journey, it can be quite scary to hold others accountable, especially when they start to feel resentment about it. Here's the thing, regardless of how you feel, how well you are able to hold others accountable and how consistent you are able to do it is essential because your success and the success of your team overall depends on that accountability. It's important that you be open and transparent about accountability with yourself and also with your team. If you truly believe that accountability is actually a good thing for your team, then you will inevitably express that belief to them in your words, actions, and decisions. And you will do what you can in order to help them improve so that they can stay accountable. Accountability comes from the individual themselves. And for many of us, the relationships that we have with the individual really matters. You don't want to let others down, especially when you have a really good relationship with them. That's not how we humans work. So your relationship with your team is going to be essential because the stronger the relationship that you have with them, the more influence you're going to have over them. And in turn, that will make it easier for you to keep them accountable. Earlier on, we talked about the need to be open and transparent with your team when it comes to accountability. We mentioned that it's good for them to be accountable and that you can be there to help them to improve so that they can do the work that they're paid to do and produce the desired results. This same standard of accountability that you have put on your team is also putting on you as their leader to bring them to their success. So it's not just enough for you to insist on accountability for your team. You yourself must live up to that same standard of accountability. Your team depends on you to bring them to their success, to help them overcome the challenges that they face along the way, and to be there to support and guide them in their journey. So where you have set a standard of accountability for your team, make sure that you yourself are living up to that same standard. Then it gives you the moral authority, it gives you the relationships to be able to tell your team that they themselves need to live up to that standard of accountability. When your team sees that you are living up to the standard of accountability that you have set, then there are less reasons for resentment. If you like the content that you see so far, make sure you hit a like, subscribe, and leave a comment in this video. It helps me to grow the channel. Thanks. At the very beginning, one of the challenges that I mentioned first-time leaders have is this whole idea of keeping your team accountable and being sort of afraid of the resentment that they get from the team. At the same time, many first-time leaders desire to be liked by the team. Your desire to be liked is going to in some way influence your willingness to enforce that accountability because you don't in turn want to feel the resentment from them. One thing that I would say is that some team members, no matter what you do, will feel resentful when being held accountable. It's not about you, it's about them. Some team members just want to have it easy at work, which is not fair for other team members who are working hard. Enforcing accountability across your team will actually be welcomed by many of your team members, especially those who see it as fair and who are working hard in their work to deliver the results that they are paid to do. When you fail to enforce that accountability across your team, it might be perceived as favoritism by other team members, which would in turn create resentment from them. And that is why you need to enforce accountability for all. While you can be open and transparent about the need for accountability, the expected standard of work that needs to be done, and the desired results to be produced, what you cannot control is how team members will respond to being held accountable. Some team members are very comfortable with hard deadlines where they need to produce results by a certain date. Other team members will be more comfortable if there's certain flexibility in how they are kept accountable so that they can continue to produce results. The key is for you to understand how each team member works when it comes to accountability so that you can get the best out of them. I think many of us can feel resentment if accountability is enforced upon us without our input. So what better way than to ask questions to your team or your team members about the situation that they are facing, the work that needs to be done, and how they intend to overcome it so that they can produce the desired results. In other words, get your team's buy-in into how they want to be held accountable. In this way, you turn accountability into a tool that can help your team members in their career goals, and you also position yourself as someone who is there to support and guide them. Rather than using the accountability conversation as a way to enforce accountability onto your team members, approach the conversation with curiosity. Find out from your team members what they need in order to get the job done so that they can stay accountable. By approaching the conversation with curiosity, you may actually uncover challenges that your team members have been having but have not told you about. And if you were to enforce the accountability onto them, they might actually feel resentment because of it. By having this conversation and uncovering such challenges, you then can work with the team member to overcome them and come into a joint agreement on how to stay accountable in order to get the job done. When you're having that accountability conversation, it helps to remind yourself of the perspective that the employee or the team member is having. You got to remind yourself that your team member will not have the same perspective, knowledge, or background and may not understand why they are held accountable for the production of certain results. When you understand where they're coming from, then you can help them to be where they need to be in order to be accountable. In this way, you are maximizing accountability in having that conversation with your team member and also minimizing resentment as a result of it.